Like and subscribe may look simple to you, but for us, it's very valuable. So make sure to support us, and thank you for watching.
The movie starts with a Canadian soldier, Dylan, holding a gun angrily to a man's head. He suddenly starts seeing his family from afar before he gets tackled by someone and gets taken prisoner. In the car, his head is covered by a black piece of cloth and can't see where he is being taken. He remembers a time when he was a teenager, saying goodbye to his brother Jojo as he went to see his girl. He meets her on his snowmobile. She gets on and they ride off into the distance together. Back in the present, Dylan is being taken out of the car by Afghani militants and put into a dark room. Stuck in the dark, he remembers the time he spent with Asana in the woods, where they ripped off some tape from each other's faces and he held her close. Someone takes off his black cloth and another man with a gun orders someone inside. It's a woman who's covered from head to toe. She gives him some food for which he thanks her. It was the same man that he was fighting with at the start, Aman. He gets permission to take off Dylan's handcuffs so he can eat. Aman had betrayed Dylan into getting caught by these people, and now he must leave Dylan in the cell as he eats. He's taken back to his memories of Asana as they talk about the snow and share tender kisses. They climb under the covers, and he admits to her that he's a little scared. She comforts him as they read with a flashlight. Suddenly, they both wake up to the screaming of their auntie, who is very upset that Asana got a boy in her bed at such a young age. The couple tries to defend their decision, but Auntie and the other older people know that it is wrong to do what they're doing. Dylan tries to get Auntie to understand their love, but she will not accept this because they're cousins. She tells him to get dressed so he can leave, but he tries to run away from them. They chase him in the snow, but not before she can hug him goodbye for one last time before they get separated forever. Asana can't stop crying as her family takes off on a sled pulled by dogs, taking her away from the boy she loves. Dylan is also taken away by his family in their car. They drop him out of the car and he wanders around in the frozen snow until he gets to the house. Inside, he finds grandmother Ruth and drops to her knees in tears. Jojo also comes to comfort his brother, but Ruth sends Jojo back to bed. She helps Dylan lay down on the couch and leaves him. Back in the present, Dylan is in his cell while a man is smoking outside while he looks at a photo of his family. A truck full of soldiers approaches, so he tells his kids to stop what they're doing. He waits as his daughter runs out of the house to hide the books since she's not allowed to learn. After the soldiers enter, she steps out and collects some hung laundry, pretending to have been doing some housework this whole time, and she walks inside with a man. Dylan remembers leaving home and saying goodbye to Ruth and the kids. He says he'll call, but Ruth somehow doesn't believe him. Despite him not wanting to talk about it, she tells him to try and live his life as best as he can, to not let go of his heart and let it heal from its pain. He gives her a big hug and leaves. Back in the present, the Taliban leader asks Dylan if he's scared of the dark, but Dylan got rid of that as a child in the woods. Dylan tries to tell him that he's Canadian, but to the Taliban, there is no difference because none of them are welcome here. Dylan will be tried as a spy, even if he's just a soldier, and the punishment is death. The man introduces himself as Ramiz before he walks out of the cell with his guard. Dylan remembers a brutal scene as Ramiz walks out, so he sings an old folk song as the people outside start praying. Sometime before, Dylan and his crew, led by a man named Sweetie, are making their way through a building. They go through it room by room while remarking on how creepy the building feels. They were joking around when they heard a noise. They approached it slowly, but it was a man calling for Dylan, asking for help because the Taliban had taken his daughter Katira. A man is the camp translator, and he leads them through the building, but it is a trap. Someone is shooting at them from the opposing roof, but they take cover quickly. When they try to return fire, Sweetie gets shot and dies. The other soldier quickly gets shot too, and when Dylan goes to take care of him, he hands Dylan his dog tag and dies in his arms. Dylan is now pissed off and heads straight for a man and points a gun at his head, but before he could pull the trigger, he sees a man's children being held hostage by Ramiz, and he gets tackled by someone, which is how he ended up in this situation. Aman looks out to see some men get in their cars. He goes out to ask Ramiz to let him and his family go because he did all that he's asked of, but Ramiz reminds him the deal was only to keep Katira alive, nothing else. Ramiz knows that Aman is teaching his daughter with books, but he won't shoot her. He has better ways of silencing an educated woman. Aman doesn't want to follow his cousin's orders anymore because he killed a man's wife some time ago to teach him a lesson, and by working for the Canadian Army, Ramiz considers him a traitor. He reminds his cousin that this isn't some movie or a video game where he plays the hero. This is real life, and real life has consequences. The conversation stops when a man's boy, Tahir, comes in, pretending to shoot Ramiz with a real gun. Ramiz likes the boy because he follows in the steps of the Taliban. Dylan remembers leaving his home since he's lost everything there. He remembers being beaten up by his his dad and all the other memories of his previous life. Asana is being groomed by her family members as they sing her a song before they put her to bed. She wakes up, gets a knife, and walks out into the snow with blood trailing her feet. She falls next to some writing she did with her blood that says red snow. Dylan comes running, but it's too late. She's gone. The next day, Ramiz and a guard come rushing to wake Dylan up to ask questions. Dylan says he's here protecting his country, but that seems far-fetched, with him being in someone else's country for it. Ramiz wants to know the code to break the notes that were found with Dylan. He then calls in a man to look at the papers, but even he doesn't know the other language that's not English. Ramiz then reveals that he plans on cutting off Dylan's head unless someone pays for his ransom. He then gives the papers to a man, this time ordering him to translate them one way or another. Ramiz takes Dylan to another room where Katira gives him some clean clothes. Dylan is taken to a chair where he is being filmed in front of a flag. They ask him his name, but he answers in a language they don't understand and proceeds to list down his ancestors. A man then discovers that Dylan comes from a Native American descent. Ramiz is excited to learn this about Dylan. He always wanted to be like the Indians, free to roam his lands. Dylan disagrees with Ramiz, which gets him a shot on his head. Dylan gives his situational information to the camera. He starts speaking in his native language, but they make him repeat it, saying he has been treated well. Ramiz starts to tear off pages and Dylan jumps to stop him, but he's put back down instantly by Ramiz, who holds him at gunpoint. Ramiz still thinks that these are documents of a spy written in code. He forces Dylan to translate them. The words are phrases from the book that he used to read with Asana. Dylan tells them his family has no money, and Dylan doesn't think he has enough value for his country to bargain for him either. Ramiz sees that Dylan isn't a regular soldier and tells him he would spare his life if he converted to Islam, but Dylan doesn't want to be Christian or Muslim. During all of this, Katira is cutting her hair and loading a gun, getting ready to escape. A man tries to plead for Dylan's life, but Ramiz wants to at least sell Dylan's organs on the black market to make some money. Aman doesn't want his boy to be part of this mess, but Ramiz is adamant. He wants Tahir to see everything they're doing because he's recruiting him to become like him. Ramiz doesn't want Tahir to be like his dad. He wants him to be a soldier. Dylan sees his brother Jojo and Tahir, and he tries to calm him down, but Ramiz isn't having it. He remembers hunting with his family. Ramiz has Dylan on the ground now and tears off his shirt. While all this is going down, someone is outside with a gun. Ramiz puts a gun to Dylan's head to beg for his life, but Dylan stays strong. Just as Ramiz is about to cut off Dylan's head, Katira comes in and shoots him. Aman acts quickly and jumps on the guard, letting Dylan take the gun from him. Dylan heads for Eamon, but Katira stops him. Dylan still has one more person to kill, Ramiz. He isn't dead from the gunshot, so Dylan takes his notebook and shoots him. Dylan takes the weapons outside and cleans himself at the river. He remembers the words of his grandmother as she tells him to always stay strong, no matter what he is facing. Tahir apologizes to his father because he didn't understand what Ramiz wanted from him. Katira asked Dylan to come with them since they're his only hope. He doesn't want to, but they're the only ones who know the roads and where to hide. They decide to leave without him if he doesn't want to go. As they get ready, he comes over to agree to go with them. They get on the bikes and start riding through the countryside. They get to a resting spot and decide to go all the way to the end until the fuel runs out and then continue the rest of the way on foot. It will take 3 days to get to Pakistan, and that's if they make it through all the people that are hunting then. Dylan still wants to go to his camp, and Katira doesn't want to deal with him if he wants to go. As they argued, they didn't see the person following them. They confuse the thief until Dylan takes the gun from him. The boy runs away, but a man keeps Dylan from shooting him. They get back on the road and ride into the mountains. As night falls, they stop and make camp. Dylan is keeping watch as he remembers the times he spent back home. In the morning, Katira and Dylan sit down together and have some food. Dylan learns that their mother got executed for teaching girls. She now dresses like a man because she wants to feel free at least once in case she dies. Tahir and Dylan are getting along as they start to wrestle around on the ground. It's time to leave now, but they'll have to walk the rest of the way. They walk through the grass to avoid the main roads. A man and Dylan are talking as they walk and talk about their respective love lives. The small notebook was written by Asana, and now he keeps it with him to keep her memory alive. They get back on the road, but Aman prays before they take another step, and they head for the mountains on foot. Aman shows them the mountain range they need to pass to get to Pakistan, to freedom. The little boy thief gets stopped by the Taliban who want to know information. He tells them about the 3 men and little boy who took his gun, but they shoot him anyway. The guys are very tired now and settle down in the valley as night falls. In the morning, there's no time to waste, so they get back on the road. They find some men that give them tea, but they should get back on the road but take a different path. The Taliban are right behind them as they climb up the mountain. They find a cave to rest for the night. In the morning, they get back on the mountain. They get to the border and keep climbing until they get to the snowy part of the mountain, but Aman steps on a landmine, forcing him to stay and let go of his children. The storm gets thick and they can't find each other, and that's when the Taliban show up and find Katira. He points a gun at her, but Tahir distracts him enough to let Dylan attack and kill the man. A man waits for for the soldier to get close enough and lifts his foot, blowing them up. The movie ends with Dylan, Katira, and Tahir playing in the snow, finally safe and in Canada.
And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Watch other recaps on the screen. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.